Forget jump scares and Hollywood fiction. The true story of Annabelle is far more terrifying, and it includes demonic oppression and a relentless spiritual warfare. In this video, we're going to go beyond the legend, and we're going to look at the true story of the Annabelle doll. To understand the story of Annabelle, I have to first introduce you to Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed and Lorraine Warren were American paranormal investigators and authors, and the two were associated with many prominent cases of alleged hauntings all over the United States. So Ed Warren was a self-taught and self-professed demonologist, author, lecturer, and artist. Lorraine Warren was a clairvoyant and a medium, and Ed and Lorraine worked closely together as they built their career around paranormal investigations. And in 1952, the two of them actually founded a paranormal investigation group known as New England Society for Psychic Research. NESPR for short. So Ed and Lorraine Warren founded this group in 1952 in Monroe, Connecticut. And the mission of NESPR was to help families and individuals dealing with spiritual or demonic phenomena. The activities of the group included things like conducting paranormal investigations. They would offer support and advice, and they would manage also the Warren Occult Museum, which is a museum that houses their collection of haunted artifacts that they have collected throughout their years of paranormal investigation. And now that Ed and Lorraine Warren are no longer with us, this organization is still active with their daughter Judy and son-in-law Tony Spera, who carry on their work and their legacy. Like many other items in the Warren Occult Museum, this particular item, the Annabelle doll, was acquired by the Warrens through one of their investigations. It was in 1970 when Ed and Lorraine Warren were contacted by a nursing student who was concerned about a doll in her apartment. This nursing student said she was giving the doll as a gift, but she noticed that the doll began acting strangely and even moving on its own from room to room. So the nurse and her roommate decided to ask a psychic about this doll, and a psychic told them that the doll was inhabited by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle. So, of course, that is how Annabelle got her name. Now, the two women tried to live with the doll after hearing that story because they actually felt sorry for the spirit of what they thought was a lonely little girl. However, Annabelle was anything but an innocent little girl. The doll actually started to be more aggressive, especially toward the friend of the nurse named Lou. This Lou person claims that the doll scratched him across the chest and once attempted to strangle him. So the Warrens were called in to investigate, and they determined that this doll was demonically possessed, and they took the doll with them to store it safely in the museum. After their investigation, Ed and Lorraine Warren said that the Annabelle doll was not haunted by a child's spirit, but it was being manipulated by an evil, inhuman presence, or a demon. The two claimed that this inhuman presence or demon was using the doll as a way to torment people, and was ultimately going to be seeking a human host. So the Warrens took the doll with them and locked it in a display case in their museum to try to contain its evil. So this evil entity or demon that was inhabiting the doll was actually looking to inhabit a human host at some point. The spirit that a medium identified as a young girl was not a ghost, but it was a demonic entity. And that human possession was the goal. Lorraine Warren was quoted speaking about the Annabelle doll, saying, "That doll is haunted and evil. We had a case made for her so that nobody could touch her." They wanted to warn that the doll is dangerous and that people shouldn't touch it. And this is a warning that they continued to stand by for the entirety of the rest of their lives. Ed and Lorraine Warren were so serious about the evil that was living inside of Annabelle that they refused to ever move the museum from its original location. They actually were adamant that disrupting these artifacts could actually unleash the evil spirits, especially in the case of Annabelle. So they couldn't move the museum because that would be too dangerous and it would risk unleashing the evil that the museum housed. Ed Warren died on August 23rd, 2006, and Lorraine Warren died on April 18th, 2019. And after Lorraine's death in 2019, her daughter Judy and her son-in-law Tony Spera inherited the museum as well as the collection of evil artifacts. And Tony has been responsible for maintaining the legacy. Despite Ed and Lorraine Warren's many, many warnings against touching the Annabelle doll or moving the Annabelle doll, she is making appearances now across the United States in what is called the Devils on the Run tour. The tour started in May 2025, and it included stops in New Orleans, San Antonio, and Gettysburg. And Annabelle has been alleged to be leaving a trail of chaos in her wake. Around the time of Annabelle's visit to New Orleans, a famous plantation, Nottoway Plantation, burned to the ground, and 10 inmates escaped from the local prison. But that is nothing compared to what happened when Annabelle visited Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Tragedy had a stop on the nationwide tour of the supposedly possessed Annabelle doll. One of the doll's handlers found dead in his hotel room at the age of 54.
Annabelle's next stop, guys. Augusta, Maine.
Dan Rivera, a lead investigator for the New England Society for Psychic Research, or NESPR, had been exhibiting the Annabelle doll around the country. His colleagues now mourning his death, writing, "NESPR is devastated by his passing and is still coming to terms with this profound loss."
The girl that he was with said that he was laughing about the doll when the motorcycle, just like the car, went out of control, hit a tree, and killed him instantly.
Allegedly linked to decades of grisly deaths and paranormal activity.
The Annabelle doll is probably one of the most infamous dolls on the planet.
And it was back in May when Dan Rivera tried to ease fears that the doll had been stolen in a post on TikTok.
Annabelle's not missing. She's not in Chicago.
Spera and his group not connecting Rivera's death to anything paranormal, but previously answering my question.
What do you say to the skeptics here who might not really believe that this doll has anything evil inside of it?
No, in a way, I don't blame people for being skeptical. If people don't know about the demonic, it's very difficult to believe that these things are happening, but they do happen.
It turns out Dan Rivera ended up dying of cardiac arrest in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And they even stated that the Annabelle doll was not located in the room with him at the time of his death. The thing is, if Annabelle was just basically hosting an evil demonic entity, then Annabelle would not have to be in the same room as Dan Rivera at the time of his death, because the doll itself isn't doing the killing. It would allegedly be the evil demon that is residing within it. If Ed and Lorraine Warren were still here today, then Annabelle would still be in her case, and she would still be located at the Warren Occult Museum, because Ed and Lorraine Warren were the ones who never wanted to move the doll, and especially never wanted anyone to open the case or to touch the doll itself. As I stated before, Ed and Lorraine Warren literally believed that they were containing an evil entity within that case and within that doll. And now that the doll has been taken out of the case, it's almost as if it is possible that something has been released along with her. In the end, it's really hard to tell if Annabelle has anything to do with these weird things happening in the places that she's been. But I do know this. I know that objects can have energies and entities attached to them. It is the whole idea behind puppets and voodoo dolls and proxies of any kind. I even use a proxy in my own life when I give Reiki to someone who is at a distance from me. I have a special stuffed animal that I use to make it a proxy for a person that I'm giving distance healing to. So it's a similar idea that you can take an inanimate object and using your will and strong intention, you can animate that object with energy. And that energy is energy of a spiritual kind. So it is my belief that it is possible that objects can carry energies and even entities. But what do you guys think about this? What do you think about Annabelle getting out of the museum and going on tour? And what do you think about all the chaos that she's leaving behind? Let me know in the comments down below, because I would love to hear your thoughts about this.